Okay. All right. What's up, everyone? Today we're doing a preview show, I guess, with the Commanders and the Seahawks. More than happy to welcome Jackson Powers back to the show. Welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. I'm ready for game day. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit more concerned after our game against the Ravens last week, but
Yeah.
it should be a good one that we have in store today.
Yeah, it definitely should be. Washington coming into this game 4-5. You guys coming in 5-3. It's definitely one of these games where the records don't really show how even this matchup probably is. Because again, like you look at 5-3 Seahawks, you're like they should be favorites here, and I think how much are you guys favorites by? Like I don't even think it's by a lot. It's like 2
I
points.
think it was more than I had expected. I can check right now. Right now, oh, I guess that doesn't have it. I think it was like, Seattle is 6-point favorites.
6-point favorites
is what I'm seeing. That's pretty big.
That's definitely pretty big. I thought it was like 4.
Yeah,
So
no,
it
on
looks like,
CBS at least it says 6.
yeah, that's definitely a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
But again, it's yeah, it's I think it's gonna be closer than that probably. It's definitely gonna be one possession. I don't see either team breaking away up 2 possessions early on. I kind of see like a slow start maybe for both offenses. I know last week for you guys didn't even have the ball for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's not good.
No, we could not stay on the field.
Yeah. But Washington last week against the against the Patriots, it was more. It was closer than it needed to be last week for Washington. We should have. There's many opportunities for Washington to break away in the second half and the second quarter even, but again, it came down to the final few possessions for Mac Jones. Couldn't put it together. Washington came out with the win. So yeah, I guess let's start. Hold on, let me upload this thumbnail real quick. Yeah, let's just start with keys to win, keys to victory for both sides.
Perfect.
Do you want to start with your Seahawks offense?
Seahawks offense, I think that the main thing that they need to do is just win in the trenches. Last week against the Ravens, it was just an embarrassing performance by the offensive line. We saw Charles Cross losing one-on-ones to Kyle Van Noy. That cannot be happening here against this game. And I know that you guys have shipped off your 2 edge rushers in Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but this is not a defensive line full of scrubs, right? You've still got Jonathan Allen. You've still got Daron Payne. There's guys in the building here that it's going to make it a tougher matchup than probably you would hope. And I think if Seattle's offensive line can keep Geno clean, take advantage of Washington being down their 2 edge rushers, I think we could see a little bit of a resurgence here. But if for some reason they do not step up to the plate, Seattle's offense could be in for another touchdownless day like we saw last Sunday.
Yeah, it's yeah, like you said, they gotta run the ball. Last week, 19 yards, I think. It wasn't pretty last week.
Yeah.
19 yards on the ground, I believe, from Kenneth Walker. You guys averaged under 2 per carry. So you're not going to win games. Even if you have like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you're not going to win games when you only run for less than 20 yards from offense. So yeah, I agree with that too. You got anything else, or you want to head to defense?
I'll move it to the Commanders' defense. I'll let you take the helm on that one.
Yeah, for Washington, last week, you can't have I know Emmanuel Forbes last week had a great game, and it was great to see him. He was like the 3rd highest graded defensive player on PFF or something like that last week. A great game all around for him, which is great to see after the struggle he had in the beginning of the season, getting benched and all that. So seeing him back, seeing him playing well is great. But again, that was against Demario Douglas, and I don't even know if Juju Smith-Schuster played in that one actually. So it was mostly against Demario Douglas, and you're not going to be going up against Demario Douglas against Seattle. You're going to be going up against 220-pound DK Metcalf and JSN and Tyler Lockett. this Commander secondary needs to play well today if they want to win. Because Geno Smith, he can take those deep shots. We saw it all last season. I'm not sure that much about this season, but the last season, all those shots to Tyler Lockett downfield, like he can throw it 40 yards downfield. The Seahawks offense, they're not afraid to take deep shots. And Washington, especially with their younger secondary, with like guys like Quan Martin being in the fold now, they need to play well and make sure nothing gets behind them because it can become a shootout against Seattle pretty quickly if you're not careful. So I think the secondary for Washington, especially some of the younger guys, need to be careful about what they do and not overreact to things, which causes the players like Tyler Lockett or JSN to get downfield. And also, there's got to be better play calling on defense as well, especially in the secondary. You cannot have Emmanuel Forbes being following DK Metcalf the entire game or just sending Forbes to one side of the field like they did it against the Eagles, and the Eagles adjusted to that, put AJ Brown on that side of the field every single play, and it killed them in both of the games. So you can't have that happen with DK Metcalf. I know Metcalf isn't like to the elite level like a guy like AJ Brown, but still, he's a bigger guy. You look at Forbes, like DK Metcalf is like 50 pounds heavier than Emmanuel Forbes, and he's like 4 inches taller. It's not going to go well, no matter what happens. So, it's got to be better play calling from Jack Del Rio. I know he's on the hot seat right now, especially allowing like 30 plus points in 4 straight games earlier this year. So he needs to step up on his play calling. But yeah, that's for the Commanders defense. How about what are we on? Oh, the Commanders offense now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sam Howell, I guess. I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Sam Howell so far this season? We're halfway in.
I have been on a really weird train with Sam Howell because he was one of the first guys I had ever like scouted and I put that in air quotes because I didn't even watch him with all 22. Like that was kind of my introduction to film breakdown with a couple of guys. And I liked Sam Howell coming out of UNC. And then over the course of his rookie year and going into this year, I kind of talked myself out on him. Because my thought process was like, he can hit the deep ball. I don't really trust his eyes as much as a lot of other quarterbacks right now. And he moved me again that second preseason game against the Ravens when you guys snapped their undefeated streak. I saw that and I was like, wow, Howell's really got something here. I think Washington has a little bit of something in Howell. And there's been ups and downs with him this season. I think that his arm talent is really, really awesome. I still have a little bit of concerns of how he hits his quick game, how he progresses through his reads. But I think you have a really solid return on interest for a 5th-round rookie. I am sort of pro Howell moving forward. I think that you should move into next year with him as your starting quarterback, but I don't really know yet how much I think he's going to blossom in this league.
Yeah. I would say, well, my thoughts on Howell throughout this entire thing. I wasn't that high on him coming out of college. I was a Howell hater. And then I think it was really, like you said, that second preseason game against the Ravens. Like he did well week 18 last year against the Cowboys. All right. It was against the Cowboys defense, which at the time was one of the top in the league. But, it's just one game, and he threw like 18 passes total in that game. So it wasn't really that big of a sample size. I watched him throughout training camp. It looks like he does have something maybe. And then especially against the Ravens in that second preseason game was really when I was like, okay, he's got that clutch gene. He's starting to put it all together and everything. And I was like, this is some of the best quarterback play, especially throughout the first few weeks of the season. Like, I know he threw a bunch of picks, but also he was playing at some drives. He was playing like the best quarterback Washington has had since Kirk Cousins, and especially now we're in week 10 of the season. Like he's getting better, and over the last 3 or so weeks, you can see the improvement from week 1 and week 2 of the season against Arizona and Denver to now last week against New England, and against both games against Philadelphia, he's played well in as well. So it's definitely encouraging to see him improve throughout the first 10 weeks. I know he's got 8 weeks left of this season, but it really does. If he can become the franchise guy in Washington, it helps out this team so much in terms of what they can use with their draft capital that they got back in the Chase Young trade and the Montez Sweat trade, and also their other like their own picks in the 2024 draft class that has a lot of good players at multiple positions. A lot of least like Brock Bowers now with your first round pick, instead of having to use some of your draft capital, maybe trade up for a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams, you now can sit with your pick and basically be guaranteed to either get like a Brock Bowers, maybe at one of the top edge rushers, maybe a Kool-Aid McKinstry if he falls a little bit. Like there's so many options now that Washington can have with their draft class if Sam Howell could turn out to be the guy, because now you're not just restricted to still trying to find your franchise quarterback. So I think it's great to see him improve throughout the first few weeks. I'm looking forward to how he plays today against Shane Waldron's defense. And moving forward, as Washington is starting to hit, similar to you guys, starting to hit the toughest stretch of our schedule. So yeah, that was on Hal. But for the offense overall, I think they gotta definitely be two-dimensional. I know we've had Hal throw the ball like 40 plus times right now in like 3 straight games. That was not expected to happen at the beginning of this season. It's like they expected Hal to throw maybe 20, 25 pass attempts a game, kind of just be like game managing quarterback, run first, pass second type thing. But he's really turned out to be a guy that you can trust with the ball in his hands. And so it's great to see. And as long as we can keep balance the run game with the pass, if we get behind early, have to pass it a ton, Hal it's not usually ended well in games against the Eagles and stuff. So I'm hoping we can get the run game going early against that Seahawks defensive line.
Yeah. I think my key for the Commanders' offense is show some life against this Seattle secondary because, there's obviously some big names on there. Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Jamal Adams. They have done a really good job for most of the season being able to contain the passing attack. But as we know, this is a pretty good Washington receiving core. Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are not scrubs by any sense of the matter. And I think if they can consistently find separation and Howell can hit the top of his drop and deliver some strikes their way, I think that we're going to see it's going to open up a lot for this Commanders offense. I think if you guys can get some motion in the passing attack, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and a guy like Jahan Dotson, who has really started off the season really slow. He only had 1 touchdown. A guy who led the team in touchdowns last season. He had 1 touchdown throughout his first 7 games, I believe, of the season, and now back-to-back games with a touchdown. He's really starting to heat up, and which you love to see, because throughout the first few weeks of the season, it was kind of just all on Terry, and if Terry wasn't open, it was Hal rolls out of the pocket and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your Seahawks defense a little bit?
Yes, I think that my biggest thing for the Seahawks defense is get some pressure on Howell. We are without Uchenna Nwosu, who has been far and away our best edge rusher after a torn pec a couple of weeks ago. And it's very clearly shown. And we've still got guys who can get there. Boye Mafe, Darrell Taylor, Derek Hall. All of those guys have shown life as edge rushers. But it's clearly just not the same. And I think if you can get to Howell pretty quickly, move him off his spot, maybe you're calling up a lot of blitz plays because Seattle has the guys to do that in Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Devin Witherspoon. All of those guys can get home to the quarterback pretty effectively. I think if you can force Howell to kind of move through his reads a little bit quicker than he's used to, maybe get him outside of the pocket, I think Seattle could put him in line for a pretty troubling day behind the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys are 8th in sacks in the NFL this year, and Washington, of course, is dead last. So the offensive line is dead last. So it's definitely a little bit scary going up against another good pass rush, which it seems like almost every week now we're going up against a good pass rush. So again, the offensive line has played great the last 2 weeks, only allowing 3 sacks, I believe, or 4 sacks throughout the last 2 weeks, which is great compared to earlier in the year when we were allowing like 13 in 2 weeks. So it's definitely there's improvement. I know that we switched out our starting center. Tyler Larson now is in that center over Nick Gates. Ricky Stromberg now hit injured reserve. So the depth on this offensive line is a little bit worrisome because some of the backups just during practice have been going down. So we'll have to wait and see um, over the course of the second half of the season how this offensive line holds up. But back-to-back weeks, it's looked promising against an Eagles pass rush and the Patriots pass rush, which I actually don't really know how they're doing. But again, you got some names on there that have played well against other teams. So this offensive line needs to hold up again against this Seahawks pass rush. And guys like Charles Leonard, left tackle, he's been pretty underrated in the Commanders fan base. I know he's been hated on a lot over the last few weeks, but he's been playing really solid. Andrew Wiley needs to have another good game. I feel like he's due for a bad game at some point because he's had now 2 great games. And then the inside of the offensive line at left guard, Sadiq Charles, right guard, Sam Cosmi, they've been playing great. They need to continue playing great because, again, if Sam Howell is under pressure from the start, especially and you're now forced in 3rd and long situations, it's not going to go well. And the Seahawks will probably win this game. So,
should be a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. It's time for score predictions. All right.
Sure.
Yep. In Seattle, I know Sam Howell said that his loudest, or one of like the trending quotes that he said this week, one of his loudest places he's played in was Virginia Tech, but loudest in the NFL has been Denver. Seattle is definitely going to be louder than Denver, most likely. I would expect so.
Yeah.
How do you? Well, actually, before you go into the score prediction, how do you think he's going to fare against a louder stadium?
It's come back to bite a couple of teams. We forced, I believe, 8 false starts in our game against Carolina, and that was against a veteran quarterback in Andy Dalton. Howell is obviously a lot younger and a little bit more inexperienced than that. Some teams have fared all right, like we saw that Week 1 Rams game didn't seem to affect them too much at all. So I think it gets to Howell a little bit, but I don't think it's really going to be a true X factor of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it was either Howell or someone else on the offense said that they've been using what's the word? It's like, yeah, they've been using the silent count for the last few weeks now. So I guess they've been used to using the silent count, which they're going to need to do today. So if they've used it in the past and it's worked out for them recently, so then it'll probably be better working out for them today. All right, now time for score predictions.
All right.
I'll let you go first.
I have got Seattle taking this 27-20. I'll say. I think it's a 1-score game. I'll leave it at 1 touchdown. And I do think Seattle is going to be. I think Seattle is slightly the better team here. Obviously, the record suggests that. And obviously they're coming off a really, really rough game, and it's so rare that in the Pete Carroll era, Seattle comes out after a blowout loss and just plays the same fashion of football. I think we're going to see the Seahawks that we have known for most of this season, at least. I trust that Geno is going to be able to exploit the DK versus Emmanuel Forbes matchup whenever we see some of that. I'm expecting a really big day out of him. I've got Seattle slightly taking this one by 1 score.
All right, I'm going with Washington. I think this game is going to be higher scoring than what you think. I'm going to go 33-31.
Okay.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think it's going to come down to the last drive. If Seahawks can get into field goal range, I'm just going to say right now, I think it's going to be a missed field goal, and that's Washington's going to win. I know it's not specific, but
all right.
Yeah, 33-31. It's going to be a really, really great one to watch. 4:25 Eastern is when this one starts. So a little bit later game for Washington. Second non-1 o'clock game of the season for them.
Yeah. We're the opposite. Yeah. We only play our 1 o'clock games, or I guess 1 o'clock Seattle time, because otherwise it'd be starting at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
for Seattle.
That's the thing. So like Washington, we usually every game starts at 1, and then like we have that 2 primetime games every year. and then the one game we
Yeah.
play against a Western West team on the road. So yeah, that'll do it for Seahawks and Commanders, that preview. Now I kind of want to go into what's expected to be a great game, a great day of football with
Mhm.
a lot of different intriguing matchups. If we want to go kind of like game by game here,
For
we'll
sure. For
start
sure.
with Houston and Cincinnati at 1 o'clock. CJ Stroud's coming off a 480, a historic performance actually for a rookie quarterback last week, 480 yards and 5 touchdowns, I believe. So
Mhm.
it was a historic performance for Houston. Can they get the upset over Cincinnati?
I do not think so. I think once you actually break down position by position, I think Cincinnati has them pretty comfortably. And I'm blanking on the name right now of Cincy's defensive coordinator. It's Lou
Oh, Lou
Amaru.
Anarumo. Yeah, Anarumo.
Anarumo. Yeah, yeah, exactly. He is one of the hardest defensive coordinators I think in the league to face, especially when you're coming off a game that Stroud just had. I think we're going to see him come back down to earth a little bit, and that's not to say that he's going to be disappointing because he has just been absolutely incredible to watch throughout the entire rookie campaign. But I don't think we're going to see anything close to the replication of the performance that he had last week. And this Bengals offense, I know they're without T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase might be in a little bit limited of a capacity, but I really, really love what they bring to the table. And I think once they kind of start clicking on all cylinders, they're going to be one of the hardest offenses to stop in football. So I've got the Bengals taking this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got the Bengals. It's not to say I love CJ Stroud. He's played incredible so far this season. Definitely, he was my QB3 going into the draft class. So he's definitely, I'm now wrong about that. And also, other people as well. I know we're low on him or lower on him. Not really low, but lower on him. And he's kind of like prove them wrong because he's front runner for offensive rookie of the year. This Texans offense has been incredible through the in the passing game, but like you said, position by position, this Bengals roster is better. The depth of this Bengals team is better than the Texans, and I think it's going to be close maybe to begin the game. I think the Bengals will probably pull away late, win by 2 scores. So, yeah, that's for Cincinnati. Now, the Saints and the Vikings, Josh Dobbs as the starter for Minnesota. Can he pull off another one?
This is a tough one because I really want to say yes, but I'm going to give this one to the Saints. I think with no Justin Jefferson, this is a really, really solid Saints secondary that you're looking at. Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Alontae Taylor. I really love some of the names in that cornerback room, especially. And I think I'm not a big Jordan Addison guy, as productive as he's been of late. And I just think that that's going to be a matchup that the Saints win pretty handily. And I have them taking this one.
I got the Vikings. You know what? I'm gonna hop
All
on the
right.
Josh
All
Dobbs
right.
train.
Sticking with the Dobbs magic.
I'm hopping with the Josh Dobbs train. I think him and Addison, and also I think the Titans get involved with Hawkinson. He gets involved as well. I it's more of this game is more going to be the Saints not playing up to how they should than the Vikings playing incredible. I think the Vikings are going to win at home here, but it's more of going to be the Saints offense just dying. So yeah, all
Yeah.
right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now a pretty historic matchup here. Green Bay and Pittsburgh. The Packers
Ooh.
3-5 heading into this game. In Pittsburgh, even though they've been outgained through 8 games, they are 5-3.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I think that's gonna extend. I think they're gonna be 6-3 by the end of
yeah.
this one.
Mhm.
I really do not like what Green Bay offers. Jordan Love doesn't completely move me, and I know that they have a lot of really explosive weapons on offense, like Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, but they can't really seem to get them the ball very effectively. And I think until then, this offense seems like it's just treading water a little bit against a very, very good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. That's just not a matchup I see Green Bay winning in my eyes. I also think I know that there's been a ton of talk about Matt Canada being fired and probably should be. You
Yeah.
know,
At this
he's
point, yeah.
to me, yeah, the worst offensive coordinator in football. But last game he called showed a little bit more life. I think it's the offense is getting a little bit less predictable. And if that trend continues, I don't think it's going to be too hard to find some legit production against this Packers defense. So I've got the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, I also have the Steelers in this one. This is going to be a low-scoring game. I don't see either offense putting up many points in this
Yeah.
one. I think it's going to be a defensive heavy matchup. And I think really it's just going to be the Steelers defense that kind of wins them this game, which seems to happen pretty often for them. So I think TJ Watt he gets in and disrupts Jordan Love. I think Love's going to have to scramble sometimes and make some throws that he doesn't want to throw and turn the ball over multiple times. So I got the Steelers winning this one as well, moving to 6-3 somehow. So,
Yeah, it does not feel right to be calling the
no,
Steelers 6-3.
no, it does not. They're gonna sneak in as the 7 seed or even maybe the
No,
6 seed and
I'm
then
not
get
here
blown
for
out.
it. I'm not here for it.
No. All right. Next one, Will Levis in Tennessee up against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. The Titans have not won a game on the road yet. Can they do it for the first time this season?
That's a good one. I honestly, I'm gonna stick with Will Levis. I'm really, really impressed with what he has showed me through his 2 games so far this season. I think that they absolutely made the right call, making him the starter over Ryan Tannehill. And I know that this feels like a pretty lifeless game. Like neither of these teams have a ton of flash or a ton of really fun pieces to watch. But I think the combination of Will Levis keeping his magic going and the Titans' defensive line against the Bucks' interior offensive line, I think both of those bode pretty favorably towards Tennessee. And so I think in a pretty ugly matchup, I'm going to give Tennessee the win here.
Yeah, I agree. I just think again this Buccaneers team, they're more experienced with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, but there's something about Will Levis of his last few weeks that it's just been kind of special to watch and seeing if he can. They won both of their matchups that he started, right? I believe. No, they
I do
lost
not
to
remember.
Pittsburgh. They lost to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I think they're gonna get it done. They're gonna move to 4-5, and the Bucks will go to 3-6. Now, this matchup is probably one of the better ones, if not the best matchup of the day. San Francisco and Brock Purdy traveling down to Florida to play Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. 5-3 against 6-2. Who you got?
Yeah, this will be a good one. Call me biased. I've got San Francisco dropping their 4th straight game. I really, really like this Jaguars team. This was actually my pick before the season started to be the 1 seed in the AFC,
Wow.
and I don't think I wouldn't bet on that anymore. But it shows you what I think about this Jacksonville team. Trevor Lawrence has been one of my guys for a really, really long time. And I think that the offense is starting to find it a little bit. ETN is one of the most productive rushers in football right now. And then you're starting to see the Ridley connection and the Christian Kirk connection. They're finding a little bit of life. I really like the way that the offense can move the ball. And I think this defense is super, super underrated. You have a lot of guys up front. Trayvon Walker is showing some life in his second year. And you've obviously got Josh Allen, and I'm blanking on their cornerback's name. He had a really big year last year.
Oh my God.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know who you're talking about. Hold on. Tyson Campbell.
Tyson Campbell. There, I knew it was Campbell.
Yeah.
I want to say Dre Campbell for some reason. Yes, but Tyson Campbell. I really think that this Jacksonville team is super underrated, and I'm not someone who is too heavily moved by Brock Purdy. That offense obviously has a ton of huge names, and if he can fit in and game manage, perfect. But I'm going with Jacksonville here. I like their strengths a little bit more.
Yeah, you mentioned this Jacksonville pass rush. Josh Allen has 9 sacks on the year already.
Yeah.
And he's an upcoming free agent. So it's kind of we'll see if Jacksonville should pay him after this year. Will they? They're gonna have to pay him more and more after every week, it seems like, because he's the leader of that defense and he's making an impact. I'm gonna go with San Francisco. I know they've lost like 3 in a row, but they can't lose 4 in a row, right? It's with Kyle Shanahan and this San Francisco team, we've gotten used to them going 13-4, going 12-5 on the year, and right now sitting at 5-3. I think something it's going to be close, I think, but I think this 49ers defense is going to keep the Jaguars from putting up a lot of points offensively. And then Brock Purdy in that offense is more going to be Christian McCaffrey probably having a big game, but they're going to get it done. They're going to get it done. I'm not entirely confident in it. I'd say it's really 50-50 for this matchup.
Yeah.
But I think San Francisco gets it done.
Yeah, I
in
can't hate it.
Jacksonville on the road.
Cannot hate it.
Yeah. All right, next one, Cleveland and Baltimore. A big matchup in the AFC North. The Browns 5-3, Ravens 7-2, currently in first place in the AFC.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good defensive battle. I'm gonna keep this one simple. I've got Baltimore winning it. And my thought process here is like, I think that these defenses are super similar in terms of, how good they are. Like, this could very well be the number 1 and 2 defenses in the league, no matter which order you want to put them in. But I like Baltimore's offense a lot more than I like Cleveland's, even with Deshaun Watson back at quarterback, especially with Deshaun Watson back at quarterback.
Especially with this, yeah.
Yeah. I think Lamar Jackson is my MVP pick right now. I know it's not a super, super popular one, but he's the one that I would give it to. And yeah, I think that the Ravens should make it too close. This could easily be a 2-score game. So yeah, I've got Baltimore.
Yeah, I also have Baltimore, and I actually agree with you. Lamar Jackson right now would also be my MVP.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So I was big on the Ravens last season. I feel like I was a year early, and after Lamar got hurt last season, that prediction kind of went to the trash. But this year, 7-2, they're looking good, like they do every year.
Yeah,
we'll see if they can continue to play good throughout the rest of the season. I don't know if I said it already, but I'm going Baltimore over Cleveland. This Cleveland offense, especially with someone under center, has not been very good at all in his time in Cleveland. All right, next one up. That was all the 1:00 games. 4:05, or I guess that was 1:00 Eastern games.
Yeah.
4:00 Eastern. Atlanta and Arizona. I don't know how you're feeling about this. Oh wait, this is the Kyler Murray return game. I forgot about it. 1-8 Arizona at home against this Falcons team, which is now starting Taylor Heineke. Heineke against Kyler Murray.
I've got Arizona in this one. I really don't know how to feel about Kyler's return. I know that he's an upgrade over Dobbs and Clayton Tune and whoever else that they've started throughout this journey of finding guys to replace him. But I really don't love the rest of this Cardinals infrastructure. This receiving room and the weapons in general don't really move me. This is also the James Conner return game, who I really like.
Yep.
But Atlanta, to me, I don't love the offense right now. I was very pro Ritter heading into this year, as I think a lot of the other film nerds were. But that obviously has kind of blown up in my face. And just the kind of refusal to get their big names involved, particularly Bijan. As much as I hate to hear all the chirping on like fantasy Twitter and all that of like, why is Bijan not getting me the production that he should be for? Like, at the end of the day, like, you need to have your good players with the ball in their hands. And I just don't think Arthur Smith has done a very good job of that. So, I've got Arizona in one of the uglier matchups of the week, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Kyler Murray. I never went off of the like when people were saying trade Kyler Murray, draft a top quarterback. I was never really in that. And again, Kyler Murray is the future of this Arizona team. I think Jonathan Gannon knows that. The front office knows that. I think, again, I love Taylor Heineke. I love watching him play for other teams. I don't like when he's on my team, but I love watching him play for other teams. I'm going to go with Arizona in this one. But, yeah, this Falcons team, I really don't know how they're 4-5. It seems like they're a lot worse than that. So, again, this might also be – I would say this also is, like, the best 1-8 team. For the Cardinals are the best 1-8 team.
Yeah, I would agree. They looked very competitive during the beginning part of the season.
Yeah, and remember, that one game was against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So they've been competitive. They were competitive against Washington. They beat Dallas. They were competitive in some of the other games throughout their journey with Josh Dobbs. But yeah, I'm going with Arizona in this one, picking up the second win of the season, which will also help other teams such as the Bears and the Giants with their draft picks later.
Oh yeah.
All right. Another kind of intriguing matchup, but one that's actually I'd say like very popular on social media. Two teams that are very popular on social media: the Lions and the Chargers. Lions
Yeah.
6-2, the Chargers 4-4.
I've got the Lions in this one. I obviously think Herbert is the better quarterback than Goff, but to me, pretty much everything else falls in line with the Lions. I know that I'm one of those like make excuses for Herbert guys
Yep, same
on
here.
social, the infamous crew. But honestly, like it's kind of hard not to. Like, look at the rest of this Chargers infrastructure. They could very well have the worst rushing attack in football. They have probably the worst receiving core in football right now with no Mike Williams. And this offensive line has been a huge disappointment. And then obviously we know the defense has not been getting it done this year. I just really think that Detroit is going to be able to exploit pretty much every weakness that the Chargers have right now. So I'm going with the Lions.
I'm also going with the Lions, but I kind of want to talk about the Chargers for a little bit because this is a team where what do you do? Because the young pieces that you have right now aren't developing. You have a head coach that's on the hot seat
Yeah.
and will
Yeah.
probably be fired after the season, but you also have a franchise quarterback who you just signed to a massive long-term deal. Do you start a rebuild? But you're too good to not
Where
to
do you
start a
go?
rebuild.
Yeah.
But where do
It's
you go? Because the ceiling of this team right now is a first round playoff exit if you even get in. Like I really don't know where this Chargers team is going because again, you should have this past trade deadline, you should have traded away guys like Austin Eckler or even the offseason when he was asking for a trade.
yeah.
You should have traded him away. And given like again the offensive line as well has been disappointing. You drafted two first round picks on it. Rashawn Slater has been like good or whatever, but like Zion Johnson, you drafted in the first round in 2022. He hasn't turned out incredible, like great. You've got three other veterans on there, three other positions: left guard, center, and right tackle that seem to keep on being flipped in and out. This
Mhm.
Chargers team is like they've got so many young, marketable pieces like Justin Herbert, and then guys on defense as well. I'm blanking, but yeah, like Derwin James. Like there's too many guys on this team. This team needs to be better. Like these guys play well, but they're not winning. Like I
Yeah.
don't really know I don't really know where this team goes. But yeah, Lions Chargers is definitely I think Lions winning that. All right, 425. New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. I wonder who we're going with here. Tommy DeVito
Yeah.
against the
Yeah,
Cowboys defense.
we're gonna go with Dallas in an absolute
Yeah.
shocker of a pick.
Wow.
But
Let's go.
yeah, not really a ton to say here. This Giants team
Mhm.
might be the worst in football, especially with Tommy DeVito starting at quarterback for them right now.
Yeah.
Dallas's defense has done a really good job of absolutely pummeling some of the bad offenses that they've faced. So yeah, I think Dallas blows them out here.
Yeah. I'm I'm also gonna go with Dallas. I think that defense is better than Tommy DeVito. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. It's Dallas is winning this game. I don't see it otherwise. All right, Sunday Night Football to cap off the night. A matchup that didn't really seem. It wasn't really that intriguing. Oh, it was kind of intriguing at the beginning of the year, but now it's just another one of those kind of dud primetime matchups. It's the New York Jets against a Raiders team now with an interim head coach that has really turned around this franchise, actually. So, I mean, I'm
That
more
is
excited for a head coach than any player that's playing tonight.
Yeah, that is a very, very ugly Sunday night game. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to make these a lot more entertaining than they probably have been, but
Hmm.
this is a rough one. I am going to go with the Jets. I understand that the Raiders have that kind of interim head coach magic going their way right now, but the Jets to me might be the best defense in football. I really love what they bring to the table, and the Raiders defense to me isn't really moving the needle, and I think Zach Wilson should be able to get up some production on them. It should be a pretty low scoring, pretty ugly game, but yeah, I've got the Jets here.
Yeah, Zach Wilson against Aiden O'Connell. This is going to be wonderful on primetime
Quarterback
television.
matchup for the ages.
Yeah, it's like that Rams Chiefs Monday Night Football game.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jets too. Antonio Pierce has done a great job changing the culture. It really seems like Josh McDaniels was just hell throughout his tenure
Yeah.
in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. But Antonio Pierce has turned around this franchise in Las Vegas. But again, this Jets team is just better.
Mhm.
Like their roster is just better, and
Absolutely.
that defense going up against Aiden O'Connell, it's not going to end well. So I think the Raiders will probably end up wanting to run the ball early, and they'll probably stick with running the ball throughout the game because the Jets aren't going to put up any points. But it's not going to. It's going to be a dud of a matchup. Like it's not good. All right, final game. Broncos Bills on Monday night.
I've got the Bills, believe it or
Oh,
not. Yeah.
no. Wow.
Josh Allen to me is just too much to handle, especially if your offense consists of Russell Wilson and company over there. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this one. It's just Josh Allen is better than anyone in a Broncos uniform right now.
Yeah, I agree. I know the Bills are 5-4. I think someone said they're currently out of the playoffs. I don't know
I
if
think
that's
they
true.
are. Yeah.
They're like, which is kind of crazy to say, but
Yeah.
again, I got the Bills winning this one. They're going to go to 6-4. This Broncos team, also should have been trading away pieces at the deadline, but
Mhm.
again, I don't know what else he can do right now. Again, I don't know how Russell Wilson finessed like $200 million before he even plays
Yeah.
for the Broncos.
Best trade
That's
in history right
that.
here
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us.
All right, those are all of our picks. Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you for everyone who hopped on the live and stuff. So that'll do it for this preview show or whatever it is for week 10. I'll have a recap of the game coming out tomorrow morning. And yeah, that'll be it. Jackson, where people find you?
At JPowNFL on TikTok and Twitter.
Yep. All
It's
right. Well, great content.
JPOWFL.
Great content coming out over there. All right. That'll do it. See you guys tomorrow. Peace. Okay.